Welcome back in. Time for Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare, as the Chicago Fire try to bounce back after their 2-1 loss at Yankee Stadium against NYCFC. This week they have Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City, this coming Saturday night. Frank Klopp is back with us after a couple of weeks enjoying himself, and Paul Tenorio here on the couch. You might not recognize him with the glasses. But I asked Michael DeLue, but what does it mean for this team to get Dax McCarty back?
Look, I think he's a quality player. You know, I think the one thing with Dax is that he holds everyone accountable on the pitch. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not scared to talk to guys, you know, to get guys going the right way, good or bad. And I think sometimes it's good for players because it's like a wake-up call. You know, I think there are oftentimes on the field where you go, there's guys that they're very quiet, and you know, it's nothing personal. It's just that this guy wants to win so bad, you know, in every situation, and he's not scared to say certain things to guys, to wake certain guys up. Besides the fact that he's a quality player, he's good on the ball, his presence, his work rate, all that stuff, we know about it. But I think more than anything is the leadership on the field and his ability to push guys and get them to play at their maximum in every game.
Absolutely. I agree with everything there. I mean, for me, that was the element that was missing in that NYCFC game. There needed to be someone on the field holding the team accountable for their energy. And often this season, vocally, that's been Dax McCarty. And I think he would have been a guy that would have really pushed to fire up his teammates on the field and would have said, this level of play is not acceptable. And, you know, I expect him to play on Saturday, depending on what minutes he plays tonight for the U.S. and the Gold Cup, but you would expect him to come off the bench. And for me, anything less than 90 minutes, he's on the field on Saturday against Kansas City. And I think you'll see his impact right away, not just in firing people up, but sometimes his presence on the ball, along with Schweinsteiger, slows the game, calms the game, and it kind of dictates the pace, I would say.
Is it no coincidence that the two games where they played with the other team being a man down, Orlando and this one, Dax wasn't in either one, and they maybe didn't look as good as they should have looked?
Again, it goes down to that idea of needing someone that pushes the game, that pushes the emotion of the game. I thought both games we saw the teams drop off. And it's very tempting when a team is not pressing you at all to just slowly move the ball. Mm-hmm. But in order to pull a team out of that kind of deep formation, you've got to move it quickly.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we talked about in the last game. And I think, again, in the Orlando match, I think the opportunities were there. But I think in this game, look, I think that sometimes you can drop a little bit back. The team is going to sit a little bit deeper, but I think you need players that can move the ball a little bit quicker. I think in the Orlando match, I think they got the ball late in the game wide. They've got crosses into the box. They had hard runs in the box late in the game. They created confusion. I think the opportunities were there this game where they can attack a little bit more wide. I think they kept forcing the ball inside. I did feel that the guy that was very aggressive and had a very good game was Arturo Alvarez. I think when he got the ball, I think his ability to be very direct and beat guys off the dribble. Because the minute you beat the defender, now it's just so much more pressure on everyone else. And I think he had a very good game, but it just wasn't enough. At the end of the day, there weren't enough guys that had good performances.
Yeah,
I loved what Michael DeLue said when he said, Kansas City's got us coming in. They don't want to play us. He goes, they know we're a good team, and because Kansas City is a tough place to play.
It is a tough place. Here's the one thing I would say, and Michael talked about it. I think that in this team, and now with Dax coming back, you have guys with strong personalities, guys that are winners. They don't want to win. So for me, we've been there. I mean, you hate to lose a game. So for me, guys that are hungry for victory, guys that take pride in their performances, they can't wait to step on the field to avenge the last game.
And every season there are teams that you kind of circle. I mean, no one will ever admit this.
Right.
But when you get your schedule, you look through and say, this should be a win, this should be a win at home. And for the last 2 years, 3 years, they circle Chicago Fire on the schedule at home and say, this is 3 points. We have to get 3 points in this game because they're not as good as us. This year, that's not the case. This year, you look at that game of Fire coming in and you say, we're going to have to work hard in order to get a point. I mean, what stuck out to me was before this Gold Cup break, Caleb Porter, after tying the Fire at home, said that was our best performance of the season as a team. Mm-hmm. It was a 2-2 draw against the Fire. It wasn't a win at home. That goes to show how different this team is. They are tougher to break down. And I agree with something else Michael DeLue said. it's tempting when you've been winning for a long time to allow one loss to become a bigger deal than it really is, because your expectation is to win. You've gone through 11 straight games. They can't allow this loss to become bigger than it is in the big picture. It's one loss in 34 games. Don't allow it to overtake you and create panic. You have to step out of yourself in this moment and recognize it's just one loss.
And I agree with you, but I think that hasn't been the case. I think the few setbacks that they've had this year, there's been a good response with the team, and that's a lot of credit to the mentality and the players and the experience that they brought in to handle situations like this. But I do expect that in this game, they have to raise their level, because they're playing against a team, like Paul said, very organized, very hard to break down, best defensive team in the league. They've allowed 15 goals. So I think the lessons from the last game and the Orlando game, they have to make sure they bring it into the field, and they're able now to learn from those games.
And we can talk about this in the next segment, but obviously it'll be interesting to see what Peter Vermees decides to do with Matt Besler and Graham Zusi. I expect both of them to start tonight. We'll see how long they go, but how quickly does he put them back into the lineup, especially Matt Besler, because you want to try to get that center back pairing together as quickly as you can with Ike Opara and get them back in that mode.
That was a look at Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. We come back, we'll take a look at Sporting Kansas City, the opponent this weekend, as the Chicago Fire travel to Kansas City Saturday, 7:30. Catch it on CSN+. This is Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.